Well, that's a positive thing.
I'm writing an email or I'm doing a reply to an email right now.
Oh, maybe I should do the same. It'll make for
Uh,
some riveting YouTube. Like everyone will be like, "Hey, these guys are replying to email. Let's not just kidding." We'll go up to 6 subscribers.
Tech Conception just hit 250, or it's around 250 right now.
Oh, that's
It's
awesome, man.
uh, I was asking Odie yesterday if uh, if there would be more value in people subscribing to our personalities and our thoughts versus the business of software development. Like, what are they more interested in? Our character or um, software development? And I think that there should be an experiment. I mean, we don't have that many viewers, right? So I'm not sure how much that experiment would be worth, but maybe we could measure the engagement. Um, Odie doesn't think that's a good idea. So,
I guess how would it
what do you think,
change?
Sean?
How would it change if you were to go off of?
For example, there's a Supreme Court case on affirmative action for like
Mm-hmm.
university enrollment. It's basically, hey, black people aren't smart enough, so let's lower the standards for them and let's deny other ethnicities that have a culture of excelling in academia, hence Asian Americans. I guess you could throw white folks in that category as well. Um, let's let's reject more of them and accept more of minorities that don't do as well academically, and we take into consideration the factors for that contribute to them not doing well, such as it's not part of their culture. They may not have parents that are highly supportive from the get go on them excelling in academia and other programs that contribute to that. That's a topic that I would think Odie and I would have a very interesting discussion on. That's more mainstream, that would attract more views than just the business of Scala, the business of F sharp, the business of TypeScript. You know what I mean? So,
Um, I think
and
I'm
the
gonna have
question
to.
is,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, and the question is, do people that routinely listen to the discussions that I have with Odie, are they one is are they only interested in software development? Two is, are they subscribing to our extremely logical thoughts from a developer perspective, from an architect perspective on other matters outside of development? Or do they really just want to subscribe to software development discussions and that's it? And they don't have an interest in anything outside of software development. And I'm saying, well, I subscribe to a lot of stuff, right? I mean, most of the content I subscribe to is either engineering or violence, right? Whether it's cartels, military, but also I subscribe to, rocket science and I don't know, life science videos, etc. So, do people literally have a bucket or several buckets of interest? Can we cater to that? Is there an opportunity? Or should we just really put that laser focus on the business of software development? And that's our niche, even if it's really, really niche and there's not going to be, it's going to be extremely challenging to monetize. I mean, it's going to be challenging to monetize regardless, but you increase the probability of monetizing with mainstream content than you do content that's extremely niche that targets probably 0.01% of the world population's interest.
Um, yeah, hmm. I think I would have to agree with probably Odie on this. Like you've created a channel around technology. To suddenly switch it up to another focus is probably not going to do too well. Like I just wouldn't expect a YouTube channel that I've gone through to tech stuff all of a sudden to be a little more and political and polarizing. Um, and in fact, that's I'll tell you that's a lot of the reason why I stopped liking Twitter for a while. It's fine now, although there's a lot less people on it, at least in the tech realm. Um, but it was because I went there and I'd get a lot of good tech like content and stuff like that, and I was keeping up with stuff, and all of a sudden, then it was politics, 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 politics everywhere. I don't give two shits about people's political stuff, and I sure as hell don't like being like, preached to, or ostracized, or having to step on eggshells when I do want to talk about that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't dilute your brand that way, but you might expand more into broader technical stuff rather than just you know the business, because there's a lot in tech you could get into that's not just
Okay.
software like and stuff like that, like but I would stay on brand as much as you can, and you can still define it, but I would stay within the tech realm and not go into other stuff. If you do want to, then start something else called like everything conception or something like that. I don't
Got it.
know. That's my take on it.
Outside of
um
that, yep.
I was gonna say, I don't know why, but
Hey, gambler.
the on brand thing reminds me of something. Do you know why Coca-Cola created Coke Zero? At least, well, one of the reasons.
Um, to reduce the number of people that are conscious about contracting diabetes.
No, I mean, they have Diet Coke already. Why do you need Coke
Coke
Zero,
Zero and Diet Coke
which is
Zero and
Diet
Diet
Coke?
Coke are completely two different products.
They have slightly different flavors, yeah. I think
No,
Coke
I don't
Zero
know
tastes
why
a little more,
they have Coke Zero.
because if they were to advertise Diet Coke to men, it would dilute Diet Coke's branding, which is a heavily female oriented beverage historically. Um, their advertising goes kind of, so they just created a whole nother product in the same category so that they could maintain, not dilute their brand by advertising to men. So Coke
Okay.
Zero is advertised to men as well as women. So, but Diet Coke is not advertised to men.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, unless I'm full of crap. But something that I don't remember where I heard it, but I believe it was some sort of like marketing discussion or something. So context,
I
but brand
was half an
dilution like
hour
that. Yeah.
ago. Then I used the bathroom, took a shower, so I'm no longer full of crap.
Oh, well, I still am. So
I'm working on. I've been working on the carrier that I need to rename to supplier. I've been working on that for a couple hours every day for the past maybe week, week and a half, and I spent yesterday for a couple hours refactoring all my automated tests to accommodate querying suppliers within the given area, supplier accepting a request, tracking the supplier. Hence, the supplier could be mobile, and something else. I delivered another order 2 or 3 days ago, and I realized that it is a lot of labor for a courier to I understand I'm performing the role of a supplier and courier, but it's a lot of labor for a courier to pick up equipment from some supplier, drive to some destination, look for parking in Miami Beach, pay for parking, and then haul, probably depending on how big the order is, 40 pounds, 50 pounds, 60 pounds of equipment on on the beach, assemble all that stuff, go through a checklist, um, answer questions from the customer, have the customer sign off, offer add-ons to increase profit while they're there, and then come back 3 hours later and do the reverse, with the exception of selling to the customer. It took half an hour for me and another individual just to do the setup. Um, that's taking too long. So thought process is, I'm aware of like two strategies. Have a dedicated driver that literally just chills in a truck, and when a order comes in, they show up at the location on the street, and your assemblers, for lack of a better term, will pull inventory out that truck and move it onto the beach. You don't have to worry about trying to find a parking spot. You don't have to worry about road rage with other people fighting for the same parking spot. Yet the consequence is you're now paying two people, but it's two functions, right? Uh, and there's not that much room for margin on on what I sell or rent. At least I don't think so. So that's one strategy: is you have a dedicated driver that basically has mobile inventory, and they just pull up to the different uh, streets where the customer is adjacent, and then your other workers grab the inventory, and then they haul that out to the beach, a football field, further to where the customer is. The other one is franchise model, in which ideally every 5 blocks on the beach you have a gazebo that has some equipment or inventory inside of it, and when an order comes in, uh, we can offer the customer maybe a $10 discount if they're willing to go a maximum of 5 blocks from their original requested location for the delivery. And each of the gazebos that are 5 blocks away, that are being manned, like they're conducting two different business models, right? They're doing the stranger approach. As people access the beach, they're throwing them under uh, shaded equipment, but also they're they're within closer proximity to uh, customer orders for specific locations, and it'll be easier for them to accommodate that, even if it means uh, a 5 minute bicycle ride, you know, up the block or down the block. That's where I'm at so far. That's what I came up with so far.
Hmm.
Thoughts?
Um,
Of course, there's that would be more of a franchise model of a gazebo every 5 blocks that also serves as a depot, and you would rent out that equipment, the gazebo, chairs, pop-up tents, everything. That gazebo is a depot, so you would rent it out to that franchise member just like you would rent it out to a customer. There would just be a significant discount, right? So they rent it out so that they can rent it out and make a profit. It's just discounted a lot more. Um, and the thought process is, why would they rent it if they could buy it? Well, because it costs, for the amount of inventory that I would loan out to them for them to rent out to customers in their area, it would likely cost $2,000 for the amount of supplies and equipment that they're going to have in their depot. Or they can just drop, I don't know, maybe it's probably more than $2,000, but or they could just drop $1,000. I put a I put a hold amount, right? They'll drop some type of deposit, and I'll make a profit off of them, and then I'll release funds once I get all my stuff back from them. So it's not thoroughly thought out yet, but that may be another strategy.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know if you're at. I mean, that second model with that seems a lot more complicated and a lot more sophisticated to set up and a lot more stuff that could go wrong. Um, the first one makes a bit of sense. Um, I know that. I think what you're getting at though is that the idea of having like a carrier, like supplier or whatever, and doing all the setup isn't going to be cost effective for like an ad hoc thing. You're in both of these cases, what you do is you have dedicated people, essentially. In one, it's a like you said, a franchise. The other one, it's more like you've got employees doing the work, right? So I would assume that the first one would be a little easier to handle. You basically have a truck. You've got people that go and do the setups and then do all the teardowns at the end of the day. Um, that makes a lot of sense, and then fulfills like ad hoc requests during the middle of the day. I don't know how much area they could cover in a single van and how fast they could be at it, but how long is Miami Beach again? It's like
Miami Beach is from 88th Street to
how many
in
miles?
theory one. Oh, okay. It's approximately 7 to 8 miles.
Okay, so you could get across it in like 20 minutes, maybe, depending on traffic, within a car or a van.
The latter part. If I wanted to go to the so I'm on the northern border of Miami Beach. Like I'm on the border.
Hmm.
Um, if I wanted to go to the southern tip of Miami Beach with Miami traffic, it'll take me approximately maybe 35 minutes to get down there.
Okay, which isn't bad. That's like, if somebody wants something, it's reasonable to say that it's going to be an hour to get there and set it up.
35 minutes to go 7 miles.
Yeah, yeah. Unless you could figure out like a wagon system and something else or something like that with
Yeah,
electric
we're gonna
bikes
set
or
up
whatever.
we're gonna set up a rail on the beach to ship to transport supplies and containers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just put it in a barge and then just roll up with the jet skis.
And
That'd be
then
great
Somali pirates are going to hijack it,
until
hold
the
it ransom.
until the hurricanes come through. Um, no, and then
Cuban pirate
the other thing I was
Cuban
thinking though
pirates are going to hijack it. Yeah,
is
but I mean, those are the
there's a
two
lot of labor, but
strategies that
what's
I
the
have. I think
have
I
you
would be the one manning the. I think I would be the one driving.
yeah, which would be okay for a while. How do you know it's too much labor, and have you done the accounting work yet to figure out
I think my
and to
internet is slow again.
yeah, yeah, it is. Do you want to try to reconnect, or do you want to cross fingers? Can you hear me?
My my internet is hella slow right now. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if it's just I'm not sure if it's just a yeah, I hear you. I'm not sure if I need to
That
reconnect
was
my
like
router or just
3 minutes.
jump out and jump back into this session.
a good question.
I'm leaving and coming back in.
Well, it's the All Me show again. Na, 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 na. I'm curious, and I'm going to ask when he comes back if he's done the accounting work on this or not in terms of like how does he know it's expensive or labor intensive? If you're making like $150 and you're putting in an hour of labor, how do you? There's obviously a labor cost there, but if the goods were not, um, if the goods were already paid for, then it's $150 worth of, some percentage of that is labor costs. So what do you pay somebody for that hour? $30, let's say. That's still $120. Now you got to take the cost of all the items that you have probably and say, okay, amateurize that over the course of the month and include that in the labor to reduce. And then at some point you get profit. So I'm curious if there's that accounting aspect, at least in terms of what I'm assuming. I don't know if there's taxes too. I wonder if he's looked at the tax implications of rentals like that. Do you really know what the tax implications are? The other thought is if he's really worried about that, he could also charge a delivery fee, um, and just have pickup as an option from where the person could be their own carrier. Hey, come get your own gazebo. Although, um, I guess it depends on how small those gazebos and stuff are for transport. But yeah, I think that to know whether or not you're actually charging too much or if the labor is too much is you'd have to really do the cost analysis on it and say, am I making less than what it costs to actually set this up? So, yeah. Yeah, hopefully you can hear me still. He's going to rejoin. I don't know if he's rebooting his router or what. But he says resetting router in Twitter here. That was a few minutes ago. Okay. Hmm. Did you hear the part about Scott wanting to take his tech conception and expand it to potentially topics outside of tech? I thought it would be a bad idea, as did apparently Odie. But I suppose I'm curious if what you think on that feed. He might. He was said, is it people wanting to listen to? He asked the question: is it people wanting to come and listen to Odie and I as logical thinkers, or are they coming there for tech content? And he's like, because take for example the Supreme Court case that passed the United States this last week. I know you're not in the U.S., so this doesn't affect you, but they struck down essentially affirmative action, which is the idea that universities could use race as one of the um, stipulations for getting into or one of the criteria for getting into universities. So um, basically, you know, what would happen is that uh, schools like Harvard or something would be dominated mostly by Asian students uh, because they're very they tend to have a culture of being more academic or whatever. And anyways, they struck down that as a thing. So they have to look at other things. So he's like, I think Odie and I could have a great conversation on that. Um, but I think what Odie would get at and what I think I'd be getting at is that it's going off brand like that isn't a good thing. I think they could expand, what they look at within technology probably because they don't the business of software they don't have to necessarily stay in a tech conception could be anything tech related so um, they could do a lot more. Hey, Scott's back. Better now? Maybe? No? And he froze again. Or my froze. Hmm. Try to mirror this. Freeze frame. He wanted to look.
Uh, it still says low. You can't
I
hear
heard
me.
you first. No, I hear you now. You're frozen for a second.
I reset my router and my Wi-Fi still says low. But you hear me okay now?
Yeah, yeah. I was explaining to Gambler your tech conception question um,
Uh,
about whether so maybe you could
what
get his
what does he
take
think?
later.
Gambler is the only person that actually subscribes to, I guess, my personality. Yeah.
Yeah, I was the other thing I was talking about while you were gone is that I've wondered if you've done the accounting on the cost because you said labor is that's a lot of labor and sure it is, but is it is it paid labor? Like is it so the thing is you have a certain amount of cost for your goods overall, right? There's a cost of goods to do stuff, and labor is going to be part of that. So you've got the purchase of the and the maintenance of the equipment, and that's a big cost, but it's not it's basically you take something, you figure out its
Fixed
lifetime.
costs,
Yeah, it's fixed cost, but you take it.
depreciation.
Yeah, you take it and you amortize it over the course of the lifetime, so that at some point you know it's paid off, and then you get extra value out of it. Because if you buy something and it's got a lifetime where it's never going to pay for itself, that's a problem. Um, but then, so what I was saying is what is let's say you cost $150 for a package. How much of that is going towards the pay down or of the fixed cost of the goods? How much of that is going towards labor? And then how much of it is actually profit? And so, like, are you saying that all $150 is going towards minus
Let,
the labor is
let,
going
let's
towards
let's
like,
let's
yeah.
use $100. It's easier for my brain
Okay, so you
to
got a hundred
manage.
bucks.
Okay.
So let's say, are you saying that if let's say you're paying labor, uh, let's say it takes an hour in total for everything,
Okay.
are you paying?
We're talking about setup and tear down,
Yeah,
right?
are you
Okay.
paying $30 for that? Are you paying $15 for that? And then with the additional, let's say it's 30, 70, how much of that goes towards paying down your equipment? And then how much of that do you consider profit if you amateurize or you know, whatever, if you amateurize that over?
All right. So we're gonna work with $100 that the customer orders. Okay. That $100 can be a two chairs. Yeah, that $100 can be a gazebo with two chairs.
Right.
That's $100.
Yep.
All right, it's really like 125, but we'll say $100. All right. Each chair, Sean, cost me $175.
Yep. Okay.
It's necessary because these chairs are sturdy, high quality, and it's less likely that a customer is going to complain or leave a bad review because the chairs are giving them issues when they're trying to relax. Anyway, I know you didn't ask about that.
Yeah. How
All
many?
right,
How many? Oh, it's the cost of the gazebo.
the gazebo is $340.
So in total, you've got about $700. You know,
Just for that
just shy of.
example. For that example, yes. No. Well, for the core hardware, yes. Then there's higher quality stakes to secure the gazebo, right? There's towels, right, for the chairs. Um, and then so that's the answer to your core question. And then what I also do is I bring a care package,
Mm-hmm.
which the care package has bottled water, sunscreen, phone chargers, and prepackaged snacks,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if they're if they're working with mainly cash, I bring the care package and I offer them items out of the care package.
Mm-hmm.
I also during my setup, right, and I think this is related to what you're asking, right? If you're talking about the total cost, what I also do is I bring accessories and I make it part of the setup, and then I let the customer decide um, what they want to remove. So, like for example, I brought two JBL Boombox threes, right, and I put them on each stand with picnic cloth, and it looked really nice. The customer didn't order the JBL Boombox threes. They didn't even order the chairs, right? They just wanted a gazebo, a canopy, and a portable toilet. Or a privacy toilet. That's what they ordered, right? But I brought two chairs anyway, and I brought two Bluetooth speakers or Bluetooth boomboxes anyway, and the customer took both chairs and they took one of the two speakers. So I
Mm-hmm.
made, in theory, I would have made an additional 40 and 38 is $78 more, right? In theory, to their original order, so $178 instead of
Okay.
100.
All right. Um, and so you're upselling. You get
Yep.
the stuff out of the care package is a little different because those are a lot smaller costs and fixed over time, or
And
they're consumables, and you've got a bit of a waste with that you'll have because if snacks you buy go bad or whatever,
I
that's a
eat it.
thing. Yeah, literally you eat it, but you also eat it from a business perspective. Like you're not getting paid for those items, you're eating them. um
Yeah.
literally.
And, and
But
and and something else that maybe we could discuss later on is my vision, and this applies to the cost of doing business. My vision is to rely on monthly memberships.
yeah, so but what I'm saying though is that I think you need to do you might want to sit down and do the accounting aspect of it in terms of, let's just take just they're renting just a canopy for an example. So you said about $400 in for the canopy, right? Or $350.
Approximately 350.
How many uses do you think you can get out of that canopy
If I can guess,
before it goes bad? And let's say there's 400 because you have stakes and things like that might get lost over time. So you're factoring in those additional features. Maybe there's a wind guard or something that you've got.
if I could guess, maybe between 60 to 100. I honestly don't know because I haven't
Well,
experienced a depleted gazebo.
Yeah.
I mean, there is
So
wear and tear. Like I see some of the seams coming loose. Yeah.
yes, and so you can you'll have to like repair or buy stuff that's higher end at time. But so let's say you got $400, and let's say you do get 60 uses out of it.
Yeah. So
It's
it's
$6 per event over the course of its lifetime that you have to make to pay it off. So that's like $6 that goes into that. That's it.
it's $400 with all the hardware, with the accessories of securing it, right?
Yeah, I
That's what
went.
you said, and it rents out for $100. So
Yeah,
so after four rentals, it paid for itself in theory.
well, so you but if you think over the course of its lifetime, if you can project that you're going to get even, let's just to keep it simpler, 50, right? Uses out of it. That's $8 per time that actually goes to the cost of that good projected over its lifetime. So
Where's the $8 come from?
it's 8 times 50. You have 50 uses times $8 is $400 pays for the cost of the unit, right?
Where did the 50 come from? I'm sorry, I'm a little bit late.
50. So you said you could use it. Maybe you could set it up 50 times. Let's say. So you
I
have,
said between 60 and 100, but okay. Yeah, sure, 50.
well, let's be super conservative and say it's 50,
Okay.
which makes it easier. So you have $400 in, and you have 50 uses. That means every use you're really paying only $8 towards that good.
Okay.
And so everything above that, if you assume you're going to get this much use out of it, is what's is profit or potentially profit, minus your labor charges. So if you're paying $100 for it, you've got $92 left to pay for labor. And if you're spending an hour of work, $92 an hour isn't a bad wage. Um,
Yeah, but we also should plug into the formula that it's inevitable that we lose a product, whether
yeah,
to it being damaged or it being stolen.
yeah. So but the thing is there's a calculation of this, right? So you take all the gazebos and you figure out what the likelihood of things getting lost, broken, stolen, or whatever. The fact that um, you put in deposits or whatever to handle at least part of that claim, which will help inform too how much you need to charge for a deposit if you think about these kinds of things in terms of amortizing it and saying how much is the lifetime cost of this thing going to be and how much uses can I get out of it and stuff like that. How much maintenance and then what's the likelihood of losing it and how much do I need to charge extra to cover that eventuality. Do I, whatever. But there's a cost in there that isn't the cost of the entire good. Like you're not going out there and saying all $150 of this is definitely to pay for the cost of the thing. Now you might turn around and reinvest your profit back into your business to pay down some of those things so that you can get to like your profitability later, but you don't have to do it that way. um, you can definitely like split up the costs over the course of a lifetime. At least I believe that's how it works with accounting. And so you take into depreciation and all that kind of stuff. um, that's why I'm saying you should do the accounting and figure out how do you know if you're charging the right amount for these, because $150 or whatever for a package sounds nice, but is it realistic based on what you need and how much of that is
Does it
profit.
does it
And
does it scale when I'm not doing it and I have to actually pay people?
yeah,
Yeah.
potentially, if you're saying that it costs you, let's just make it to make it even number, $10, let's say, is what you believe that a gazebo costs for that kind of thing, because the way that you said that we're going to get this many uses out of a gazebo, we factored in the additional costs for this and this and this, we added in some money to handle like the eventuality that this is going to get broken, and that offsets by some of the deposit stuff that they put on it. $10, that's how much the cost of the good for the gazebo is during this thing. And if you're charging $100, like I said, that gives you $90 left. How much of that can be labor? If you give $50, let's say, of labor, you're still making $40 worth of profit on that gazebo then, right? Based on
Right.
how you amateurize it. Now, obviously, um, that doesn't help you in terms of like, you did have to pay a bunch of these things upfront, fixed costs, and you're still going to be paying them down. Um, but it does, I think, help to make you think about your cost structure and like what you're actually going to need to have to make money, because it needs to, you want to think about it, I think, in those terms, because labor sounds like a lot until you put it in terms of $50 an hour is what you're paying for someone to do this. And it's like, well, $50 an hour isn't a big deal if you're making $50 additionally. This is a win-win, you know. But if you want to pay somebody $20 an hour to do the work, that's still a decent wage, and that increases your profit on that, which then you can reinvest back to pay down some of your your fixed expenses if you want, or you can use it to spend on other things, advertising or whatever. And advertising is a cost too that you have to figure out. So there's a total cost of your goods, and that's not like constant. It's, you've got to figure out how much did it cost for this particular transaction, how much of that was cost of goods, how much of that is labor, and then how much is it actually like what I'm making off the top of that. And I think if you do those kinds of calculations, it'll make it a little clearer
For that
to
business model. That's
for,
that's that's not the vision. That's the
yeah,
current business model. That's not the vision for the business model.
which is other people own everything, and you're just doing logistics then. Is that it?
No, the business model, and to your point, I haven't really sat down and crunched the numbers on what are the conditions in order for the business model that I'm about to discuss to be viable, right?
Mhm.
Is a monthly subscription, right? So
Yeah.
for $100 a month, you get two chairs and an umbrella, and you get to use it 8 times a month. You get to exercise that package 8 times a month, right? Which is, to me, a ridiculous deal,
It is.
right? It's ridiculous, right? Um, I'm betting that the majority, right? Majority means over 50% aren't going to exercise all 8 passes of their monthly subscription, right? They're not going to go to the beach 8 times in a month, um, and have that package delivered to them. That's my bet, right? For the same reason that there's times where I could go 2 months without watching a show on my Disney stream subscription, right? And maybe that's a poor example. So my vision is to be able to better forecast monthly revenue by having residual income of monthly subscriptions, and betting that there's more than half of the monthly uh, subscriptions that I have are going to leave money on the table or going to leave labor on the table. So, like, my hunch is more than 50% of them, instead of exercising 8 of those packages each month, they may do half of that,
Hmm.
right? Which, I mean, to your point, I still have to do the math, but
Yeah.
I prefer to have money in the bank that is consistent, and then for me to make decisions. And then the add-ons still apply, right?
Yeah.
The care package and the upsells of doing the entire setup and then removing things after they experience it for 5 or 10 minutes, which is what I did with the last customer. I did the whole setup, let them see it and experience it for 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm like, okay, well, you didn't order this, so I'm gonna start taking this away because it wasn't part of your order, unless you want to keep it, right? And then yeah, let me get that. Yeah, I want that, but just give me one, right? So that's the strategy.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that all makes sense. And I think that those are good things, but make sure you understand like that the numbers make sense when you say 8 of them. Is it arbitrary, or is it based on the fact that this is your cost for this. This is your projected labor costs for it, that you're going to have to pay a courier, even if it's ad hoc, regardless of how you do it. Um, and then this is how much I'm actually projecting to have profit. And if they use 8, are you making any profit?
Yeah. So
Like
here's the other
anything lower
part.
than that's great, but
Here's
you
the other part that's related to what you're asking about the true cost. There's influencers that get paid off of or there's affiliates, right, that get paid off of promo codes.
know.
They typically are expected to take 10% of the sale. Your your labor, right? We discussed this already. It's not just labor to do a setup, it's labor to do a tear down, and it's labor to return um, the product back to the supplier,
Hmm.
right? So it's a lot of cost.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
and that's why I would sit down and think about all of those cost things and what you believe them to the value to be and what you're going to pay for them. Put them all together and make sure that all your pricing makes sense and that you are actually getting profit and that you're not pricing yourself out too. If you and then whether you need to figure out cost saving measures because, like you said labor
well,
was really big, but is it though? If you put it in terms of how much money you're making off
my
of it.
thought process is early on. Okay,
'Cause-
ideally, ideally, early on, I would expect to break even, meaning I make no money,
mhm. Yeah, that makes sense.
right? But the more people that are subscribing to a monthly membership, the more the word of mouth goes around, where they just show up and they, oh yeah, yeah, I got this package. Anytime I show up, like within half an hour, 45 minutes, I'm chilling, right? I'm literally set up, and I bring absolutely nothing. So part of it is the cost to get customers and the cost for customers to do word of mouth is my thought process,
Yeah, but
and that would probably be for maybe 3 to 6 months is my hypothesis before, and they would be the contract would be probably be grandfathered in maybe for like 3 months or whatever before I start adjusting the price based on the reality of transactions and how much of a hit I'm taking with the ridiculous, 8 passes per month for a customer.
yeah, but you can do these calculations up front as a best guess.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying because you could take basically just do these things. Take each good that you have, a chair, gazebo, whatever. Figure out what you believe the usage count is going to be. Take your like overall set of stuff. Figure out how much you want to factor in for like loss. Taking in consideration that you do take down a deposit or whatever. Take out how much you want to add in for like loss and whatever, and just figure out then what it costs for each time that this goes out for all of those goods. Then figure out like best and worst case scenarios for labor, and then calculate those into it, and then make sure that the number that's on top of that still adds in for what you want to make for money or what you want to whatever. And because then, I mean, you can go at the I'm going to sell this at a deep loss, but at least also that you're going to sell it at a deep loss then to get feedback, because then you're buying data. You're not actually paying
Yeah.
for um for the trying to make money, right? So, but if let me just put this another way, like because the whole thing goes back to that's a lot of labor. If you let's say you charged $1,000 for that package, and people were willing to pay for it, would that labor matter?
No, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah. So there's definitely at some point the value, the cost of the labor, and the value that or like the money you're taking in, and the cost of the goods, like there is a point where it doesn't matter anymore. And I would put that into like tangible numbers and be able to put that down. And it'll also tell you maybe like if you go through and you project, okay, I'm going to get 50 uses out of this gazebo, and you start using it, count how many uses you have, and then you can actually get get metrics back on, okay, well, these gazebos only last 10 times before they break down. Well, shit, I either need to find a better gazebo because that's going to be more expensive, or maybe I need to figure out how to figure out what the common problems are and do some sort of like mitigation to that. Maybe you create some sort of like extra sew on patches in certain spots or something like that break down on these types of gazebos. Something, but you can then find these problems and say these aren't living up to my projections, then go and solve those problems. So I would sit down and do the accounting at some point on these things, and then you'll know exactly what, and you could present this to, if you did have investors or something like that. Here's what I make on one of these sales. I make $50 or something like that. And if we could do, let's say, 5 of these, or let's say 4 of these a day, I'm making $200. $200 a day is a pretty decent thing, and we could scale that out. You know, um, and so I would do that, and it will give you like a good idea of what happens if you do this monthly subscription. Everybody does 8, and what happens if you have more monthly subscribers than you have items, and now you're just like in this self-consuming problem where you can't even buy new equipment because you're like, and people are mad, so they cancel the subscription and blah blah blah. And I would, like I said, sit down and do the math on it, and even if it's rough, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I would do that. So
I'll just have ChatGPT do it for me.
yeah, that'll work. How'd your interview go last week?
It went well. I'm expecting an offer. I got another one today with a different organization. The one, the one last week was for F Sharp um, automated tester. All right, it sounds junior, but the pay rate isn't,
Hmm.
or the bill rate isn't, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and it's within the life science industry.
Okay.
And then this one that I have coming up is my third screening with this organization. It's supposed to be 90 minutes with 3 individuals, including the director at the end. And this is for a principal Xamarin engineer.
Oh, cool.
Not quite sure where principal. Not quite
Contract
sure where. No, this is
principal. Oh,
full
this is for
time.
FTE. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if I should go back to my code and memorize certain structures, such as memorize the the overall XAML for a data template, memorize the overall XAML, or memorize the code structure for a behavior. I don't know if they're going to have me like writing code and I literally have to like build something up front.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know principles. I don't know if they might do like, I don't know. You're probably beyond the technical part if you're on third interview, but maybe not.
Not if it's Xamarin principal engineer. Like, how is that not hands on if they have a specific framework?
No, 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 no. It is hands on, but I'm talking about the interviewing, whether it's hands on or not. I'd
Uh,
assume that they would have already done the technical due diligence on you. But
no, it was half an hour.
oh,
It
okay.
wasn't in
Or
depth.
maybe they don't. Maybe they do exactly what you want them to do, which is just look at me. I'm Scott Nimrod.
It sounds arrogant, but I really do believe that.
I have stuff out there. I'm.
Google my name.
Yeah.
All right, but
They should call it Xamarin Nimrod.
that's the thing. Like, if if this does materialize into another offer, uh, like the F sharp and the automated test one, that's like a 3 month contract with the likelihood that it'll be extended, right? Or do I just or this other one, if the interview goes well and I get an offer. I mean, this is a full-time position, and I haven't worked in like 6 months. I haven't.
Hmm.
I had to liquidate some crypto a couple days ago just so I could pay my monthly expenses for next month. So like things are getting serious, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. And then what happens with your beach delivery stuff if you're, you know, if you can't do deliveries during the day because you've got work?
It's just on the weekends.
Well, that works, but it's Friday too, I assume.
If I'm not available, I'm not available.
Gotcha. Hmm.
At least I will have some income maybe to uh, pay other people, right? So if I'm making, let's just throw out a number. If I'm making like $100 an hour, right? Maybe I could carve out um, 100, even $200 for the day to have someone make runs.
Yeah, yeah, and then gather it in there. So, hmm. Well, if you'll ransomware is great, you should give them my name. It'd be Nimrod and Associates or Nimrod
There you
Rukeski and
go.
Associates.
I don't know, man. I
Start
think I'm
our
trying to understand how drug traffickers work. Like you're trying to find all these it's like a puzzle. Like you're trying to avoid code compliance, right? You're trying to do business under their nose. You're trying to understand that you acknowledge that you're going to lose product, right? Like
That's not how drug dealers and stuff work. That's how lawyers and
sure it
accountants
is.
work. It's
They
lawyers and
they have
accountants,
lawyers and
man.
accountants.
Well, sure, but oh, I guess you're talking like
The
Pfizer and
cartels they have judges on their payroll, they have cops on their
yeah,
payroll. They will purposely set up a a hot car that will go 20 miles above the speed limit so that it gets pulled over while 5 minutes before that hot car on the turnpike is a truckload of coke that gets by because five cops are on that one problematic car that they found like a nickel bag of like I don't know crack in. Like they thoroughly think this stuff out.
yeah. I get it. So
Yes, I'm learning how to be a trafficker through Beach Mobile.
there you go. Now you
I
can
just,
start selling to the drug cartels.
yeah, I don't have the stomach for violence though.
Yeah, I've got a technical interview or phone screening next Thursday,
Oh
but
wow, how do you get
otherwise,
this so fast? Oh, because you're a web developer. Okay, that makes
yeah.
sense.
Well, it's not fast though. I mean, it's I don't know. It's a little bit in the making. I got about like I think I had maybe 5 or 6 recruiters. You're right. As soon as you put that open for work on, you get a deluge of blah.
Third
let me
party, third
represent
party
you.
folks
Yeah, which is fine
from
because
other
they do all
countries.
the they do no they do like it's people working for like some of these big recruitment firms,
Tech
but they do
systems,
all
whatever
the
we have.
they do all of the like research and finding for you, and tell you like what's going to be what the interview is going to be like and stuff like that. So it's not bad. It's just like I don't know. You get kind of shuffled around people, and it's hard to remember who's who and stuff. But yeah, I've got one. It's a fintech company. I feel like I've got to do some technical, like just sit down and like just to make sure that I remember things because like it's been so it'll be in 9 days from now. It'll be a month since I left my job, and I want to say for the last year I haven't done a lot of really hard technical work, like in terms of development. It's kind of like riding a bike, though. You get back on and you just go, but it's like to speak cogently or confidently about technology is it's sometimes tough. So especially for me, I don't think well on my feet. I do better when I'm given something and I have a chance to think it over and respond. So um, yeah, but I don't know. I'm gonna probably look at other listings and stuff today and apply for a few more, and I'll just keep going on that route until I land something. I suppose. I don't know if I'll
What would be your ideal industry?
ideal. I don't
Yeah.
know. I haven't worked in enough. So I've worked in distribution, manufacturing, and e-commerce.
For example, mine would be
So far,
aerospace.
I don't know. I'm right now. I'm mostly interested in fintech a little bit. I don't know why, um, but fintech, it something about fintech that I'm interested in, like transactional integrity and stuff like that. Is kind of interesting to me right now. But um, yeah, I don't know. Ideal. I don't know. Whatever has interesting problems, I guess. I don't know if I'd be into aerospace though.
Uh, I've been trying to, for tech conception, I've been trying to find a guest host, preferably of Caribbean, African, or Negro descent. Also, I would, or Pacific Islander, um, or Southern Pacific. Like basically, I'm looking for an Asian or a ethnic like African ethnic like co-host for tech conception that can participate once a month, right? And I'm failing at it. I've been declined twice so far in the past week of reaching out.
When Odie's not available, or with you and Odie.
Um, it would it would likely swap between Odie and I, right? So that the female, 'cause I think it would be interesting to have a female's perspective within engineering, and it would likely be engineering. I mean, it would likely be reaction videos, right? Um, and I mean, like based on skin color, like we kind of stand out. I think we're kind of niche. Um, it shouldn't matter, but as humans, this is what we pay attention to. So I would like to have a underrepresented female perspective on some of the topics that we have. So I know some people would have a problem that I'm like discriminating against white women, but like, sorry, I want an underrepresented ethnic female to share their thoughts, opinions, and
Yeah,
to maybe teach me a couple things or change
it's
my
your show,
mind.
man. You do what you want.
You would think. I'm sure if a white man said, looking, posts the ad, looking for a Caucasian female to to do reaction videos on engineering or whatever XYZ topics, I'm sure that they would get blasted. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they would for sure. Um, but the thing is there is not there's not a good reason that I think that if I was in that position, let's say I was the host, there's not a good reason for me to want a Caucasian female. There's like a reason I might want a female, but is there any reason that I would want specifically a Caucasian female? There's no good reason for that, right?
uh,
Now I could get
if I were being difficult or challenging, I would say it's easier to build rapport with people that you have something in common with, at least skin color wise,
but that's
right?
but then I would find a white Caucasian male. There might be a reason I'd
Yeah,
want
but you could
another
check
white
off the
Caucasian
list.
male,
But you could check off the list that you're not a misogynist because you have a female
but I get double
co-host.
points if I'm not racist and not misogynist at the same time.
Uh,
So there's a reason. Like that's the thing is it's seeking someone who's you know different from you. Now if you're looking specifically for an African American female
I'm
or
looking. No,
or African female
it's
or
literally of African ancestry or
yeah,
Asian or Pacific Islander,
but no
not white,
Hispanics,
not Latin, not
no
Middle Eastern.
Cuban.
I literally have those three areas, and that's what free people probably likely have a problem with. Like, why not Latin?
Yeah,
Why
why
not
not?
Indian? And I'm like, no comment. Like, I want African ancestry or Asian, right?
Yeah,
Now, you
so
could.
you can
I
get
don't
away
really
with that.
have that much in common with Pacific Islanders, but hence, like, I have a lot in common. Well, you know my lifestyle. Maybe
Mhm.
the public doesn't, but like, yeah, I have more in common with Asian culture than most people that look like me.
Yeah.
Um,
So that you can I think that there's you can seek that out to get because there's a reason to get someone who's, let's say, underrepresented or whatever. Like there's a that people will think of that as a good reason, but there's no good reason to get, to specifically seek out Caucasian females. You know, not to particularly exclude Caucasian females as a. I mean, that's even okay from like a white guy doing that for sure, and for that. I mean, I don't. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
can you do it for me? Can you just post on Twitter and say I'm doing this on behalf of a friend looking
No,
for?
man. You know what I would do? I'd go to Scott Hanselman's podcast,
Oh yeah, yeah, I
if he's
forgot. I
still
think I
there,
mentioned that. Yeah.
and just look at his guest list and just start at the top and go down.
Did I tell you that, or
Well, not
because I
today, but
am I the one that told you that I would review Scott Hanselman's guests? Or I
oh
literally,
no, no, it's just
I told Odie
yeah.
this like last week as one of the strategies.
Two, three, four, five,
Yeah, he goes above and
six,
beyond
7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 12 candidates for you right there, just in the
on the first
last
page.
40 episodes. So yeah.
Okay.
So um but yeah, that might be a source because he finds people, I guess. um
I haven't listened to his podcast in a
I haven't either.
long time.
I haven't listened to any podcasts in a while.
I listen to Software Engineering Radio. I used to like Software Engineering Daily, but it got very focused on like people that are trying to market their their businesses. Um, I still listen to .NET Rocks. I listen to it faithfully when I'm bicycling or when I'm jogging on Thursday mornings.
Oh, I see Derek Martin's one is out. He mentioned he was going to be on .NET Rocks. That was the most recent one. They made their website a lot simpler. That's nice. I haven't listened to them in a while. It gets repetitive and kind of, I don't know, not really that meaty because they have like their like intro thing, and then there's like segments in the middle, and you rarely get into more than like a nugget of information off of their show. So
Oh, yeah, but I still think their show is quality.
yeah.
Um, I still think that I'm learning about concepts and approaches more than like Software Engineering Radio. Like I was hooked on it, but then it just became very like markety with people trying to sell their business solutions. And so I kind of I don't know, I subscribe to it. Software Engineering Radio I still like.
Hmm.
I try to listen to like podcasts on Rust.
The only one I ever go back to if I'm gonna listen to one, is the Art of Manliness podcast. I don't know if you've ever listened to that one.
Nah,
It's it's,
that doesn't sound like it's software related.
it's not software related. It's
Okay.
it's it's completely like, um, it's miscellaneous topics. Um,
Gamer says he's listening to this podcast.
it's miscellaneous topics on like, just any. It's men related, but it's not necessarily specifically for men.
I you know what I do like once a month? I literally type in bulldog mindset.
Yeah, I do that too every once in a while. I'll go check to see.
And the thing is, one is I do respect John Sonmez. He has personally helped me out. I
Yeah,
do respect him. I've watched him change significantly, right? And obviously he doesn't owe the market that I'm in any attention. the transformation of his content is very different, and I would say borderline weird based on what I used to subscribe to from him.
Yeah, he's got these new videos that are much more like like produced, you know?
He, I'm saying this respectfully, but like, you know how, okay, you listen to hip hop occasionally.
Hooray, oh yeah,
All
sure.
right. So like 10, 15 years ago, you obviously know who Jay-Z is, right?
Sure. Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So I was so I would get so annoyed when it was song after song after song where Jay-Z would keep putting his girlfriend on his track, right? He would keep putting Beyonce in his videos,
Hmm.
in his music. I'm like, oh, you like came here to listen to you rap. Why you keep putting your girlfriend on here? Like, move. And now I'm starting to say the same thing about John Saunders. Like now I see his wife on a lot of his thumbnails, and I'm like,
Well, that's because yeah. Well, I think she might be in that influencer type space too now because his old wife wasn't, and he kept that very secretive or whatever. But he cheated on her, and then like they had a
I saw
divorce or
I
whatever.
saw the well,
Yeah,
I mean, there's three sides to a story, but yeah,
yeah.
I saw that video. It's just I'm there for John Sonmez, and I used to be there for programming. I'm not there to look at your wife or look at your new girlfriend. Like, and it's not just him. It's it's a lot of. There's a motorcycle channel, Jarrett, whatever, and he does the same thing. He puts his girlfriend or his wife on almost every thumbnail, and she's wearing like close to nothing. It's like
You know, that's because that's a marketing thing though. It brings
it
in.
is. It's clickbait. I mean, she has like big
Yeah,
titties, so I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but like
yeah.
I don't. Can I just do you have to include her? Do you have to include your personal life and the current girl that you're with in your business? Because I'm part of MGTOW. I think all that's temporary, right? So
Yeah. Well, you should check out that Art of Manliness podcast though. It's every thumbnail is unique and not like that at all. So
good. As long as you don't have your wife co-host on this channel, this Masterminds thing, I think we're good.
yeah, no, I don't think she'll ever be on here.
She's gonna be your replacement while you're like whitewater rafting or something.
No. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. So,
Um,
but
good luck on your interview, and wish me luck on mine. I got to figure out how to prep for it. Um, I don't know.
well, what kind of app can I give you to make? Go and make an app for me to a running app to make my
Oh,
runs
running out.
better. Yeah,
You need to integrate with what's that little band thing I see people have on their chests
like
or men?
the heart rate, one of the heart rate monitors.
Okay.
Is that like a?
And what does it do? Does it just create a report at the end, or does it
I
like
think it's continuous, and I think what the idea of it is, it tries to tell you what zone you're in because there's
zone
zone
two?
training.
I learned
Yeah,
about this Monday. Zone two is like a new term, right? You want to achieve zone two when you're doing
yeah. So
cardio.
there's like a max heart rate, which is like zone, was it zone one or something? I don't know. I don't know the actual thing of it, but I know there's a science to it in terms of if you spend time in like zone two, that's where you actually get. So people who go on long runs, they tend to run too hard, and it doesn't actually help them. But
Why not?
yeah,
You're exercising your heart.
yeah, but it's like you're putting a lot of stress on your body, and it's counterproductive to go that long. What you want to do is go at like this conversational rate for your long runs, and then which is I believe the zone two stuff, where you're just getting like repetition without a lot of stress, and so it's a I don't know. There's a whole thing to it.
Yeah,
There's
but
people who
there's two rounds to this. One is the stress that you put on your joints. The other is the stress that you put on your heart as a muscle, and to rely on less
yeah.
and less oxygen, right? By conditioning your lungs and your lungs specifically, in addition to exercising your heart as a muscle.
Okay, so zone four is your hard. So that's 80 90% of your heart rate max. Then there's zone 3, which is moderate, 70 to 80, and then zone 2 is your light, 60 to 70% of your max, and then zone 1 is very light, which is 50 to 60%.
So when I'm with my chick, it's usually zone 1.
Very light. I thought it would be zone 4.
At first, when we started our relationship, it was
Zone 5
zone
maximum.
zone 5 for like 30 seconds, and then I tapped out. But now it's zone 1, man. And
Yeah, but
very light cardio, very light.
I think that's why zone 2 works, because you have a light increase over a long period of time, rather than going up to zone like 3 or 4, where you're having
Yeah, but it
like a
depends on
pretty
the
stressful.
women. It depends on the women, right? Like certain women, you don't really care that much to invest in the
Mhm.
zone, right? So it's very light. But other women are like hotter, or there's more of a connection. So you like you
You
go
go up
into
to
a
zone
deeper zone
5.
with them. Yeah, yeah.
You go
Probably
to
going to
zone 5 just looking at them.
probably going to Cartagena soon. I'll probably be in zone 4 when I'm down there. But, and that is the
Oh
end of
man.
our discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. It just evolves into something. So cool.
Bye,
All right.
Gambler. Thanks for supporting. And yeah, we'll catch up, Sean. Thank you.
Yep. Do the accounting. All right. See you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.